Okay, so I want to dig right in. No matter what you're planning for, no matter why you're setting goals, no matter why you're trying to develop a new plan, doesn't matter. It could be new year, new me. It could be, hey, I'm just sick of living a certain way. I really want to make changes in my life. It could be your birthday. No matter what it is, it's always going to be important that you do some self-reflection. Really, no matter what's going on with you, it's going to be important that you look back so that you make changes to move forward. One big thing that often happens is we set these big goals for the new year, but we don't sit back and review the past year and really review it, because oftentimes there's a lot of things that we forget happened. There's a lot of things that we overcame. There's a lot of decisions we made that we forget why we made that decision. So it's always very important to go back and get that data so that you can move forward. So I'm gonna give you a few creative activities you can do for self-reflection. Okay, so the first one is to use some form of entertainment. I like to say music to explain or describe what your past year was, or the past season of your life, or your past relationship, like no matter what's going on. But let's just for this use year. So let's say, what album or song would you use to describe the previous year? And then what album or song do you want to describe the new year? Or what do you want your new year to feel like? So if I could think about a song that represents this previous year for me, I would definitely say one of my favorite gospel songs, which is Something Always Changes by Upper Room. I love that song, and I feel like it was just continually telling me to go to God. And then the second song would be Time in a Tree by Riley Ritchie. I really just felt like there was so many moments this year where I just didn't have it. I just had to call out to God, and there was more times than not where I just wanted to get away. I just needed to get away. It felt so stressful this year. Like just the environment, just the feeling outside, like just the atmosphere felt very stressful. And so I was calling on God and wishing I was away. So that would be it for me. Now, moving into the new year, I was really thinking about this. It would probably be Win by J-Rock and Promises by Maverick City. Yes, I know. Like, that's just what I'm thinking now. And a great thing that you can do with this activity is go and listen to the song, go and listen to the album, really sit with it and say, okay, what about this represents my past year? Like, what do I feel when I listen to it? What memories come up? Like, it is a self-reflective activity, so it's going to be important that you sit with it, see how it feels in your body, do that body scan. And a body scan is just when you sit and you describe how something feels from head to toe, like somatically within your body. I'm getting a little bit technical, but anyway, just sit and see how it feels within your body. When you're listening to the album, when you're listening to the song, and then do the same for the song or the album that you want to represent your new year, and journal about that. And what that does is it opens up, I was feeling sad, I was feeling lost. This album brings so much emotion to me where I feel overwhelmed even, or I have all these memories that are uncomfortable. Or hey, you could have had an incredible year and you just feel fired up, you feel like nothing is going to stop you and you want to replicate that, and then you listen to the new album and you're like, okay, yeah, this makes me feel the same way. If you had a tough year, then you want an album that represents the opposite of that. Okay, and so that's really just that activity. Okay, so the next activity, what you can do is imagine yourself 5 years from now in one of those interviews that we used to see on Oprah, where they talk about your whole life, or whatever interviewer you watch. It could be Nardwuar, like it doesn't matter, whoever your favorite interviewer is. Like, think of your favorite interviewer and think of yourself interviewing 5 years from now, talking about the year 2024, or talking about when you was 25 years old, or talking about when you really had your transformation, or when you had your breakthrough. Like those interviews when they say, when did you decide to go all in? Like, no matter what it is, sit and think about yourself 5 years from now, describing the previous season in your life. How would you describe it? How would you describe it to them? And the benefit of this activity is it puts you a little far. It allows you to zoom out a bit and say, okay, if I'm really describing my year to someone, you tend to be a little bit more logical. You tend to be a little bit more objective and just saying, you know what, the year was super hard, but if I really think about it, I made it through. Or the year absolutely sucked. When I was this age, it was the worst year of my life, and it's when I declared that I would never do that again. Or, the year was okay, but I realized I wanted more. Like, really think of yourself where you want to be in life 5 years from now as the person who made it through and obtained what they wanted to in 5 years. And now they're looking back at this year. Okay? And if you want to, write out some questions that you think that interviewer would ask, however you want to do it, go ahead and do that. Like, this is supposed to be fun. This is one of the activities I love to do. I always imagine myself being interviewed by Michelle Obama or Issa Rae. Michelle Obama or Issa Rae is who I imagine myself being interviewed by. And so that's just so funny. But yeah, so I always think, Issa, Michelle, probably won't call her Michelle, probably call her Mrs. Obama. But yeah, talking to them from a space of a person who made it, a person who was able to achieve what they wanted to achieve and has accomplished what they need to accomplish, had a tough year, but still made it through. Okay, so the third one is really like a role play. Imagine that basically you're talking to someone, a close friend, someone you trust, someone that you love, and they're telling you the year that they had, and it's the year you actually had. Like, they're describing your year. Basically, they're switching places with you. What would you say to them? They're telling you, oh man, this year was great, or oh man, this year was really hard, or this was a tough year for myself. What would you say to them? And they wanted your help in creating goals for the future. How would you approach it? Because oftentimes we talk to other people way kinder than we talk to ourselves. We give other people so much grace when we do not give ourselves grace. So just really sit down and think about the person that you love the most telling you that they had the year you had and wanting to set goals for the new year. How would you work with that person? Would they need a lot of empathy, a lot of love, a lot of care? Would they need you just to sit with them? If they need you just to sit with them, then you need to give yourself the grace and the space just to sit with yourself and love on yourself. Like, step outside of yourself and look at, your life and the year you've had and give yourself what you need. Like, that one, I would say really take time and sit with. If you do like a year in review journaling activity, which all that is to write down all your big things that happened in a year, and then go back and read it and write down those small moments too that were significant, and really sit with that year and say, this is the year that I had. Now, based on this year that I had, what do I need emotionally? Because something that you can do is you can look at your year and say, okay, what did that person need? Again, stepping outside of yourself, what did that person need that they didn't have? And how can I provide that for them, which is you, in the next year? Like, what were you missing that you think would have changed your year that you want to focus on this year? Oftentimes it's community, or maybe it's a church home, or maybe it's, getting out the house more, or maybe it's just loving yourself a little more, being kinder, gentler to yourself, and then set that into your new goals. Okay, so another thing when I'm doing self-reflection is, if you are a journaler, if you are somebody who always picks up projects, if you are just working on things throughout the year, if you just set goals, throughout the year, pull that stuff out and review. Why were these your goals? Why were these, why was this stuff on your vision board? Go back through those journals. Now, when I go back through my journals, sometimes I hit points when I'm like, God, I was really down, or you was really hopeful, and then this happened. And it just gives you some insight on what you were experiencing throughout the year. Again, oftentimes we forget. We do forget our year. And that's why when we're going along and we're trying to repeat things, we're like, oh yeah, I remember why I didn't do this before. It gives you the opportunity to start from a place where you're informed, okay? So go back through that old stuff, however you operate throughout the year, no matter what it is. Were you applying for a bunch of jobs? What type of jobs were you applying for at the top of the year? And then did you start to give up during the middle of the year and just apply for anything? Like, it doesn't matter if you did or not. It's just information for you to have, so you can say, you know what, do I need to go back and apply for what I want? It's just insightful. It's all to get insightful information. And then finally, one thing that I love to do is a word. And I'm sure you've heard of this, a word for the year. But what would be the word to describe your previous year? For a lot of people, it was survival. If I could look back my previous year, I was just trying to survive. 2024, I was just trying to survive. When I was 30, I was just trying to survive. When I was 21, I was just trying to survive. Now that I'm 31, 22, it's 2025, I'm trying to thrive. Okay? So these are just a bunch of activities you can do for self-reflection. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I wish you all well. This is really just data because we want to be informed. We want to know ourselves. This is just a good way for you to get in tune with who you are so that you can determine who you want to become. Okay?